They're dinosaurs, okay? They are dinosaurs that will never disappear.
I'm trying to get rid of that button still.
Oh my goodness.
I don't want it.
Do we want me to do the intro?
Yes, go ahead and do the intro.
All right. I don't know what I just said. Anyway. Hi, welcome to the Triad, where we're spooky but sensitive. I am Shelby.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Shannon.
Cool.
Yay.
Okay, so here's how Boston fucked me up today.
Yes, do tell.
Okay, so I had to take my cousin, Kevy, who's been on the show before, to the airport, which was fine. We left, 5.5 hours early. It was fine. We meant to, go do stuff and then go to the airport.
Yeah.
So, we drive into Boston, which I'm not afraid of city driving. That doesn't bother me, but we got there. We were going to go to the art museum, and I am so used to St. Louis being you can just walk in anywhere and do whatever you want, that when I got there and they were like, do you have a ticket? I was like, what the fuck? What world is it? Who are you to ask me if I have a ticket? Kind of a thing. I just
free?
was so flustered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mind paying, but they were like, you have to get your ticket ahead of time and then stand in this line and then fill out this form. And I'm like, oh, what? Where? Who?
That's a lot.
Excuse me? So couldn't go to the art museum. I was so bummed because we had parked on the Vincent van Gogh level of the parking garage. And so I was like, you ruined my life.
Right? How dare they?
So that was fine. We were like, okay, whatever, we'll just walk around. So we start walking around. Today, apparently, we were under a gale warning, so it was so fucking windy that at one point I was like, I'm sure all my hair just blew off. I'm sure I'm bald. There's no other way my life can be. And I had new shoes on, so I have I'll send you a picture, 2 giant fucking blisters on my toe, and then the back of my foot is completely eaten off. And then I was having a full-blown meltdown. I was having a full-blown meltdown because 1, it was so windy and my hair was in my mouth. 2, we were stuck in the middle of a college campus and there were so many people around. And 3, my phone would not show me walking directions anywhere. It would only show car directions. And then by the time we got back to the car and we were going to drive somewhere instead, it would only show me walking directions.
Why does technology hate you?
What?
Both of us sat there for 10 to 15 minutes trying to figure this out, and I was like, let's just go to church, because there was a basilica down the street, and Kevin and I are very Catholic, so we're like, we're gonna go to church. So we get in the car, we start driving, and we're like, oh, there's a place we can eat, because when the Farley's family gets hangry, it's watch out, because someone is going to lose a limb. So I was like, all right, we'll just go eat somewhere. We put this little restaurant in that's across the street from the basilica. So we drive up there and I'm looking for spots to park, and Kevy's like, there are no people in there. All of the chairs are up on the tables. And so
Nice.
I wish you could see my face. We were just like, okay, we'll just keep driving around. So we drove down the street a little bit and we saw this place that was I feel like it would have been good, but it reaches a point in our family where we're beyond help. You just have to put a bagel in our hand. We can't do anything on our own at this point. And so I had a fucking parallel park, which it's not hard. I just don't know how to do it right. So I do it the half-ass way where it's a 48-point turn,
Yes.
And so I finally get parked. I get out of the car. I'm 3 feet away from the sidewalk. I have to go do it again. But we saw this place that was it said Mexican and Pakistani. We were like, okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
Why are we so dumb? We walked in. Well, first we got stuck. Okay, because we are two country bumpkins in the big city, and like the street signs wouldn't turn to the walk sign, and everyone else was jaywalking, and we were too afraid to jaywalk, so we literally stood at this corner for like 10 and a half minutes, like, why can't we go across? And finally we just followed this guy who looked braver than us.
I jaywalk so often and drive so little that when I drive now, sometimes in my brain, a red light is a stop sign. Like, it's a problem.
We could not handle the city. It was too much. And
you
then,
have to jaywalk if you're going to be in a city. You're never
we
going to
eventually
get anywhere.
did. We followed a brave man in a backpack. We were like, he's running, go! But we walk inside the Pakistani place, and it's like there's no seating. It's not a restaurant. It's like a pick up, walk out kind of a place.
Yeah.
And we're like, no. So we walk outside, and we're like, we'll just walk down the street. I swear to God, it immediately starts pouring. Like, full downpour. And we run into a Dunkin' Donuts with like 17 other fucking people because it's raining so hard. And Kevy's like, I need a Sprite more than anything in this world. And so she gets a Sprite. She got me a water bottle. We run back to the car in the fucking rain. And then we're like, fine, let's drive to the airport and see if there's anything nearby that we can get.
Yeah.
The airport, in theory, was 12 minutes away. It took us over an hour to get there. Because I got stuck. I was, and like I said, I don't mind driving the city. It doesn't scare me. Like, I know people are idiot drivers. I can do it. What happened was I was in the far, far, far outside left lane of a 4-lane road.
Uh-huh.
No, yeah, but it was like a tunnel underground, and I was like, there is no way in hell, because my GPS was like, yes, stay in the right lane, stay in the outside lane. I was like, okay, got this. So I was in the outside lane, and then suddenly, with like 2 seconds to spare, it was like, you have to be in the far left lane or you're not going to Logan Airport. I was like,
That's what my GPS did to me in New York City. It was like, so you're gonna stay in this lane, and then, oh wait, you were supposed to be 6 lanes over like 30 seconds ago. Like, you might want to do that. And I'm just like, well, at this point, I'm already back over the bridge, so
Logan
guess
is
what?
like in the middle of the fucking bay. I don't know if you know that. It's like in the middle of the water. It's surrounded by water. Basically it's an island.
Yeah.
And that was the bridge. And I missed it because it was wall-to-wall traffic, and I was in the 4th lane.
Like,
opposite to where I was supposed to be. And so then we drive, and like, I missed one other turn because it was a very similar thing. Anyway,
that's like when Shannon was driving through Atlanta to come see me in college.
God. Yeah.
So it took us an hour, so we got there like right before her plane left, and I was like, okay, well, I guess no lunch. Love you, bye. And that was
just starve
Guess
on your
how long
plane.
it took me to get out of Boston. So like
2
when
hours.
I got in there, no, it took me about 8 seconds. I literally
That's how it
was
always
driving. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? There was nothing. There was nobody. I was like, what is happening? Anyway.
Sounds right.
Boston, you're a garbage city, you know it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hannah.
Sorry, that was 10 minutes, but
No,
that
it's
was like
fine.
really
You
traumatic.
needed to get it out, like.
And then I came home and took a 2-hour like stress nap.
Yeah.
I'm like sweating from my nap because I'm so.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I had a couple housekeeping things, just real quick.
Cool. Cool, let's get those over with.
Yeah. First off, no one has said anything, but I thought about it while we were editing. So during the Ancient Aliens episode, we were very, like, education good, not educated bad. And I'm worried that people are going to take that as us saying, if you're not in college, you're dumb. That isn't what we meant at all.
No.
That's not what we
not
meant
what
at all.
we mean.
And again,
no, not at
no
all.
one said that. I just have anxiety, and I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, we maybe should have clarified that.
Yeah.
we
Sometimes
were
I forget
saying-
about, like, how other people might interpret things, or, like,
Yeah.
the implication that might come off, and I'm like, but I didn't mean it that way, and I know
Exactly.
that doesn't really
So,
matter.
I just want to preempt that now. We were saying that these moronic white dudes are morons. You can be just as intelligent as anybody else not having gone to college or gotten formal
Oh,
training.
100%.
We're saying don't call yourself an expert and try to argue with the people who are experts, is what we're saying.
Yes.
So, that was
and if you do your own research, whether you have a degree in it or not, you can still be an expert so long as you do proper research. It's not...
because you have authority and credibility. I teach this in my English class.
Yeah, you don't have to have a piece of paper that says, like, I paid $30,000 to be an expert in something. You just have to have a full, like, well-rounded knowledge of the topic.
You just have to do your homework.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do.
Exactly. And so I just panicked because that's how I am as a person, and I just wanted to head that off now. Again, no one said anything, because no one's ever said anything ever. But just in case.
Nobody listens to this.
We get...
Whatever.
No, we have
my sister listens, and Kitra listens.
We have really strong listeners in Columbus, Ohio, and in Brussels. So, shout out to them.
Hey, guys. And then,
really?
Yeah, let's see. My sister, Kitra, and then... Brandy, my friend Brandy, and then I think my friend Noah listens, but I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Wait,
100% his sister told me he did, but...
Yeah.
Columbus, reach out to me. Where is your state located? Are you in the... Okay, wait. Let me rephrase that. I had a reading the other day where I literally brought, like, your state up in my bio. It said...
Didn't we have an argument about this?
Yes, we did.
Yes,
that's why she's bringing it
I
up now.
have feelings. Let me read you what my bio said for my reading. Hold on. It's right here. Okay. It said, Hannah Farley has many passions, but if you want to see her in near hysterics, ask her about the socio-geographical location in Ohio. Quote, it's not where you think it is.
I mean,
anyway.
Fair. Or about as a prefix.
We're not doing that right now. I'm just going to shut this down now. We're not doing this.
I just got out of Boston.
My other thing was, so we're recording this on the 21st of April.
Yes.
The Derek Chauvin verdict was announced yesterday. He was found guilty on all 3 charges, which is great. He's going to be sentenced in June. We don't know what he's going to get. We don't know if the sentences are going to be concurrent or not. We won't know until they say. That being said, right after that, we heard about Micaiah Bryant.
Is it Micaiah?
It's either Micaiah or Micaiah. I haven't heard it.
Gotcha, because I've only seen it in writing, and it was only, like, once earlier today while I was at work, so I didn't get to, like, read it really well.
Yeah, I think it's...
I wasn't sure.
Hang on, let me look, because now I'm going to feel bad.
Sorry.
No. I mean, you're right. I should know.
It was a thought I had earlier, and I was like, I need to look up her name, but...
I think it's Micaiah, but I'm... Okay. Because that's how it's spelled, but I'm not...
Gotcha.
Like I said, I haven't heard it. I haven't had a chance to, like, watch anything.
So...
And so anyway, I'm bringing this up because I also had to do a presentation on qualified immunity in my law school class today. Which my professor could not have planned that any better. We've had this scheduled for months. Like, there is no way she could have planned this any better. And I just wanted to just acknowledge all of that and just, I think that getting the verdict and then having a 16-year-old get shot and killed by police, half an hour before the verdict was read, I think that just highlights, just how much work needs to be done with reform of our criminal justice system and of our, sorry, I'm losing my voice at a milkshake, and with reforming our, policing system. And since we're kind of a true crime podcast, I wanted to bring that up.
For sure.
So.
It's one of those things where it's like, yes, I'm happy about the verdict, but at the same time,
it's just one win against such a long column of losses that it feels so small.
It feels so small, and then especially to have, the news of Micaiah right afterwards, it was just kind of like a cool, here we go again sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's one of those that, just because we had one win, we can't, let up sort of thing.
Yeah, so, just wanted to bring that up. I would have felt disingenuous if I didn't, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, that was all I had. Yeah. Okay. Also, Hannah and I are both real tired for very different reasons, so today should be fun.
Yes.
I just remembered not to change the subject.
No, you're fine.
But the basilica we were trying to go to was called Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and help.
She was not helpful. She
Love
failed
you, Blessed
Hannah.
Mother. However,
Where were you today?
where
You were
you
supposed
came in
to
clutch
help.
when I was trying to leave that shithole.
She was like, I think Hannah's had enough. I guess I'll
Yeah.
help her now.
Yeah. Also, I got rid of that
But
weird
we'll leave
button
the
on
rain.
my
We'll
Chrome.
leave the rain.
Yeah. I got rid of the weird button on my Chrome, so we're good.
Well, good. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did that.
What button was it?
It was so there's the sometimes Google like just throws in experimental features on your Chrome. It was this
hate
button
when they do that.
where if you click on it, you can search within your tabs. And I don't want that button there. I didn't ask
I
them to put that
got
there.
too much going on my little bar up there.
Yeah, I didn't want that there. So, yeah. Okay. Shelby, do you have any announcements? Or
I
have
touched a
some
blister on my
things?
toe, sorry. Oh.
I did not register any word that Hannah just said. My only announcement is that I am on my third hair color of the year
Yep.
because
Jesus.
mental breakdowns are fun
Yay.
or something like that. They're not. I don't recommend.
You could be doing worse things.
I mean, I didn't drop out of college this time.
Yeah.
It helps that I'm not in college this time.
Yeah.
But
It's fine.
I chopped off all my hair 2 weeks ago and then went and I don't know if anyone knows this, probably not because no one interacts with us, but my hair is naturally dark brown and it is currently like a strawberry blonde
Yeah.
ish red, which is the lightest my hair has ever been. So
Your hair's probably so mad at you right now.
actually it's doing okay.
That's good.
Wait, where's there a picture of you?
She put it on Instagram.
If you think...
With my
With it.
current hair color?
Yes.
Oh, nowhere. I'll send you one.
Oh, you
I mean,
must have sent that
technically
to me
there's one on
Snapchat then.
Instagram, but it's me and Yuki, and you can't see much of my hair, so
You must have sent that to me on Snapchat then. Never mind. Sorry.
I did.
Take a picture
yeah.
right now.
Didn't I send you one on Snapchat, Hannah? Probably not.
Oh,
I
if
don't
you
know.
think I have eyeballs.
I will send Hannah a Snapchat and she won't open it for a month and then she'll respond and
Yeah.
I'll have completely forgotten what it said. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do that all the
exactly.
time.
So
I'll be like, LOL, me too. And then people will be like, what are you
I
talking
sent this to you
about?
3 weeks ago.
yeah, that's pretty much how Hannah does Snapchat. It's
Yeah.
fine.
How I hated to social media, full
Yeah.
stop.
That's true.
True.
Ugh.
But that's my only
I was
announcement.
busy playing my Game Boy.
I just can't keep a hair color for more than like 3 weeks, so
That's okay.
I will say I have somewhat like bionic hair and I have a lot of hair. Like my hair is very thick and it grows very quickly. And I can I dye my hair like every 3 to 6 weeks and I've only ever over processed it once. And because my hair is dark brown, I almost always have to bleach it every time I dye it. And so like, I don't know. My hairdresser told me I have bionic hair. That's all you need to know. It's not important. Whatever. That's that on that.
Yeah.
One time my hairdresser told me I had Mexican hair. And I was like, what?
Is it because it's curly?
I think it, yeah, I
But
think
that's-
it's
that's
thick
like-
and curly.
Irish.
She herself was Mexican, and she was
Okay.
like,
Yeah, it's
you
probably
have Mexican
because of
hair. I
like
was
the
like,
texture of your hair. Because I've had people tell me that I have like the hair of like a mixed person, and I am not. I am
No.
very much white.
Yeah.
I am V-white.
Yeah, but we both have Irish, and I have a little bit of French, and they also have like that coarse curly hair in their genetic
We were
line.
just reading...
So
Kevin and I were just reading sonnets to not to each other, but I read her a sonnet in Barnes and Noble, and it was that Shakespeare one that's my love is nothing like the sun. You know the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, that bitch is so ugly, but I love her. She's endearing. Basically
Right.
that. And so all this week she's like, if black wires be hair, then her head is full of whatever. She was saying.
right.
Okay, we're 20 minutes in, so can we start?
All right, let's talk about this. Okay. So, Hannah, I don't remember if you were on when I said this earlier.
Was not.
Okay, she was not. I was gonna make a PowerPoint for you guys, but then I got called into work today, so now I am not. I don't have a PowerPoint for you. I apologize. I'm an underachiever.
I'm so excited!
If you would like to follow along with my notes, they are in the episode 43 folder. Today, we are going to be talking about the Great Emu War.
I literally just got chills. Yeah!
Okay. Well, I'm glad you guys are excited because this is one of those
course
topics that I find hilarious.
This is the best thing ever!
Oh my gosh. Okay. Also, just a little side note, a lot of Americans say emu. I say emu.
Yeah, I already noticed that. I say emu.
And I'm going to say that my excuse is that I actually lived in Australia and I learned how to say it there, but I have no memories of that, so it could just be me pronouncing it wrong. I don't really know, but I'm going to call them emus.
Okay.
I don't know why I stick away in there. Come at me, bro. I don't know.
Fun fact, Emma means emu in Portuguese, and she's marrying someone who speaks Portuguese. Anyway, that's all. We got it.
I love that. I love that. But yeah, so small disclaimer, if I am mispronouncing it and you're Australian, feel free to correct me. I don't know. That's just how I've said it my whole life, and I tell myself it's because I learned how to say it in Australia and that's how they say it, but I don't know that for sure. So
couldn't tell you.
That's that on that. Doesn't matter. Maybe I'm just been pronouncing it wrong my whole life, and that is a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
So I like to call it the Great Emu War because it makes it sound much more exciting than it actually was. It is also just called the Emu War.
Because great implies that there was another emu war.
I know, I was just thinking that, like...
And it just makes it seem like it was, like, this big, huge thing.
Yeah.
Not as opposed to the
clusterfuck that it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what we're talking about today. My sources are like 90% Wikipedia, and then there was a little bit from like the historychannel.com or history.com or whatever their website is, and then there's also I had messaged you guys earlier this week about like I found an article on it where this guy took it way too seriously, and that is wearethemighty.com. So which the website name itself should already kind of clue you in on.
That's fascinating.
But yes, so that. But yeah, so according to Wikipedia, the Great Emu War was, quote, a nuisance wildlife management military operation, end quote. Which is a fancy way of saying that the emus were in the way and they were annoying, so they sent in the military to get rid of them.
I'm just going to be giggling to myself this entire time. I hope that's okay.
Yes, Shannon is, well, actually, Hannah's here too, but they're following along on my notes. And as I've stated before, my notes are they're not the most professional because I tend to just, like, throw in my own little commentary, or, like, the way I write them is not at all, like, serious. I'm always just like, so the farmers were like, you know. So...
Plus, this whole incident is just absurd, and I love it so much.
I know, it's hilarious. So basically, this all happened in 1932. So some little background on how this all even came to be is that after World War I, veterans that had been discharged from the Australian military, they were awarded land by the government, and it was basically as a reward for their service, essentially, is how they kind of like packaged it, I guess, or promoted it to these soldiers, but that wasn't really their intent. It was kind of more to just like be like, thanks for your service. Here's some useless land, I guess. Don't bother us. The way I wrote it in my notes, I was like, but basically the Australian government just wanted them out of the way. I don't have anything to back this up, but it seems legit in my mind, so that's what I'm saying. Again, no proof of that's what the government was saying, but it just kind of comes off that way, especially just with the way that they like handle the situation going forward and everything. And the fact that like the land that they gave them was in Western Australia. And I don't know if you know anything about Western Australia or Australia in general, but it's a lot of desert. Like a lot of desert.
Yeah.
It's a lot of not exactly farmland. And yeah, so they like gave all these soldiers quote unquote farmland, and then encouraged them to take up farming and grow crops and stuff. And yeah, it wasn't good land. That's all you need to know.
That is why we ended up with a dust bowl.
Yeah. It's look, they get better with it, I guess.
Let's use the land until nothing can stay on the ground, and then when it is windy, goodbye ground.
And we're also going to coincide this with the worst economic depression in history.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Point, it's 1929 and the Great Depression hits. And I don't know why, and if this might just be a me thing, but for some reason in my mind, and I know it's not true, but in my mind, the Great Depression was just an America thing.
No.
And I know 100% that is not true, but I feel like other Americans, at least,
oh yeah, there are definitely people who think
have
we just
that thought.
Yeah, I think that just in history class they're like, and then all the bankers killed themselves, and it was chaos.
Right,
like, I
and
think
they
we just
like
really focus on
they're
it.
just like, oh, New York City was like, bleh, and I'm like, cool, but like, it affected the whole world.
And you know what else we're taught right after it, which I held this belief for such a long time, and it's so embarrassing and so American.
Yeah.
Is that the thing that fixed the Great Depression was the war.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Anyway.
it's let me just say that American history education is not exactly great. Okay.
It was propaganda. Everyone was like, and then the Depression was fixed because we went to war. And so then in my head I was like, well, why don't we just go to war if we have this depression? But I mean,
feel like that really, we need to clarify that. Like, technically, we were pulled out of it because of a war, but we didn't start a war to pull ourselves out of the Depression.
Yeah.
No. We joined the war really late. And
we joined really late, and it's a whole
we mostly joined to, like, try our new toys out. The Soviets pretty much had the Germans handled. Like, it was whatever.
Yeah, we just dropped a couple bombs that we didn't need to, and
we only got involved because Hawaii was attacked.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we didn't
because Japan spit on Hawaii. Yes.
Yeah, we were very isolationist at the time.
Yeah.
But I think that's another part of the thing too with the Great Depression. Like, yes, we were kind of isolationist, but the global economy is global whether you want it to be or not.
Exactly. And so, like, the Great Depression hit everybody.
Yeah, especially since in the 20s we were on our way to becoming a technological, like, superpower kind of a country, and then everything exploded. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the bankers killed themselves.
Yeah, which actually did not happen nearly as much as they said it did. That is a myth.
As they like to make us believe.
Yeah, that's
like
a myth.
anyone who owned a tie climbed to the top of like the Chrysler building and launched themselves off. Like that is literally what we were taught in high school.
That's a myth. That's not what happened. Like,
okay, well,
I don't know. I don't remember the numbers, but it was a vanishingly small number of bankers who died by suicide after the Depression. Or after the stock market crash. So
And they also taught us that like families were selling their children, which I understand that sure that's definitely happened before, but they made it
like,
seem like
there was
everyone
a
did it.
few, but like it wasn't.
They made it seem like it was every
really
family who had like they were like, I guess we can keep 2 of the 6. But the other 4 are gonna have to go.
Yeah.
Put a sign out in the
And
yard.
it was less of them selling them and more of them kind of like it was in like Les Mis where they were like, can you raise my child because I can't afford to.
And they were like, free slave? Yes.
Yeah, well, or
exactly.
they were hired out. Yeah, or they were hired out for field work and all that nonsense.
Yeah,
child labor laws weren't a thing yet. So, well, they kind of were, but not really. Anyway.
So that's the Great Depression, 1920s. There you go.
At least in the U.S. I know nothing about it in Australia.
Yeah, honestly, what I know about it in Australia is what I learned here.
Yeah.
Which is not much about, like, overall in the country. It was just how it affected these farmers.
Yeah.
/ former soldiers. But yeah, so 1929, the Great Depression hit, and so these farmers who had previously been soldiers, the veterans or whatever, they were encouraged to grow wheat to kind of like help with, I guess, like bread and just food in general in the country.
Yeah.
And the government promised to aid them in the form of subsidies. Which, fun fact, the government never followed through on those subsidies. I don't know why I said the word "did" in that sentence. But
they did never follow through on subsidies.
They don't never done that. So the government didn't follow through on their subsidies. They didn't really provide any financial help to these farmers in any way. The land was not exactly farmable, so they kind of just like played it off as like, we did this great thing. We gave our veterans farmland, and then they didn't.
And the veterans are out in the field like, where? Show me. Point to it.
They're like, not so sure about that. But yeah, so because they weren't getting these subsidies and it was the Great Depression, the price of wheat continued to drop like consistently. And so a lot of the farmers were like, hey, we can't afford to do this. Like, costs money to run a farm, especially one where I have to like ship in water and stuff like that.
Well, and they're farming fucking wheat. That's one of the most common crops to grow anywhere ever.
Yeah, exactly. And so like the price of wheat is already like fairly low usually, because it can be grown in abundance. And
supply and demand, y'all. Like,
yeah.
Why are they growing wheat?
Right.
I mean, I guess, like, it's such a good staple crop, but at the same time, like, if you're selling
something... Yeah, but, like, corn and soybeans in the U.S. are subsidized because they're so, like, prolific in our diets and, like, in food in general, and so it has to be because there is so much supply that, like, you have to kind of keep prices consistent.
Yeah, exactly. And then they weren't doing that. So.
Yeah. So, there's a little education on how farming works, I guess.
Similar but different. One time in front of a bunch of people, my dad said, he like patted me on the shoulder because I'm really tall.
In case we haven't mentioned.
Right. In case you haven't got on.
She's corn fed.
You said that on here before.
It's like,
that is such a your dad thing to say.
I know. It was like, dude, fuck off. Whatever. Anyway, that's all. Goodbye.
But yeah, so the price of wheat kept dropping. So by October of 1932, things weren't looking so great for the farmers. Actually, I mean, it was like earlier. Things hadn't been going great basically since the Great Depression hit in 29, but that was kind of like October of 1932 is when this Emu War started. Well, so 32... I'm going to say like by then, but a lot of this stuff as far as like the farmers talking to the government was before October of 1932. It was more like in the summer.
Yeah, well, and 32 was like, sorry, I know a lot about the Great Depression.
No, you're good. Go for it.
32 was like the worst year of the Depression, at least in the U.S., so I imagine it was similarly the worst year in Australia. So
and it's kind of, from what I gather, most of it just tells me that, like, by October 32, like, things were really bad, and it doesn't really tell me what happened between, like, in 30 and 31, and so...
It's just general economic decline, and they can't pull themselves out of it.
They were holding on, they were, like, plowing their fields, growing their wheat and stuff, but, like, by this point, like, things had kind of, like, boiled over at this point. Like, they hadn't been happy up until then, especially, like, not getting their subsidies. Like, basically, by this point in 32, they were, like, threatening to not even, like, sell their crop and stuff like that, because they were like, what's the point? We're not going to make any money. I'm working at a loss here.
Yeah.
And so, where am I in my notes? Here we go.
1932.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, when it came time to harvest the wheat in 1932, all these farmers basically threatened to refuse delivery. of that season's crop, and basically overall things weren't going so great come 1932. So then the emus arrived because we needed more problems in our fields.
That was so ominous. Then the emus arrived.
I know, and I put it in all caps in my notes. I wanted it in my mind. It was kind of like the meme where it's like, and then the Fire Nation attacked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah.
What are the 4 elements of Australia? Because there is not water in that place.
Nope.
I mean, it is an island.
Snakes.
Spiders.
Kookaburras.
Fire. Fire's a thing.
Yeah.
Fire.
And kangaroos.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
Random, but you know how like last year before all of COVID started, it was like Australia's on fire, which very sorry to Australia for that. That was really terrible. But I have a couple friends in Australia, and one of them, I guess her family like owns a farm or something. I should know this, but I don't because I don't know anything about her family. She's an internet friend. But she like posted on Twitter about how like her farm and like all the farms in the surrounding area wherever her family lives are like it's not even like an infestation, it's more like a plague of mice.
Ugh.
It's literally like they had, I think it, because they usually have droughts, and I think it was like this year they had like so much rainfall that it like drove all of the mice into these people's like barns and stuff. And there was a video of it, and it's literally like the ground is moving. There are so many mice. And I was like, I like mice, but that's too much.
Yeah.
Like it literally looks like a plague. And I was like, Australia, are you okay? I'm worried about you. And I haven't heard anything since, so I hope it got taken care of. I don't know, but
release the cats.
Right.
It was the beginning of the Great Mouse War instead.
Right, exactly.
Oh my god, can you even imagine? I'm writing the screenplay for that right now.
I'm here for it. I would watch that play. But yeah, so emus, like most birds, migrate after their breeding season, and for like their breeding season they are inland, and after that they migrate towards the coasts. And since these farms had like moved into this region of Western Australia, they had like cleared the land, brought in water, and stuff like that. And so the emus basically realized that all of this cultivated land made a really great habitat.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, hey,
so
free food, free water, we don't have to scavenge. Let's live here.
It literally sounds like they had a delegation set up that said, you know, they're sitting at their little round table. I've noticed that there's a change in the environment here, and I think that with all of this new added water, we could definitely build some kind of, you know,
I think we could
housing development.
Yeah. For sure.
birds.
For sure.
With our tiny wings. Goodbye.
But yeah, so in late summer of 1932, some 20,000 emus descended on Western Australia.
So many.
Which, what exactly do you guys know about emus?
I know they're really
like
big
ostriches,
birds. Yeah.
But
That's
smaller.
literally all I know is that they're like ostriches.
Cool.
They're just
cool,
leftover
cool.
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that
Basically.
they're like ostriches and that there was a war. That's all I know.
Nice. Okay. Well, you are correct. They are like ostriches. Emus are the second largest bird, ostriches being the first. They are like distantly related genetically. So kind of like cousins, I guess. They look like ostriches. If you don't know, they're just a little bit smaller. Other than that, I don't really know how to describe them other than they've got big, fluffy bodies flamingo legs with like raptor claws on the bottom and a tiny little head where their eyeball is bigger than their brain.
Yeah. Literally, their eyeballs are bigger than their brain. She isn't exaggerating.
That is a fact.
Yeah, that is a fact.
Yes.
I have a question that might be dumb. They cannot fly, correct?
You are correct. They are flightless birds. Yes.
Just making sure.
Yes.
It's like if you flapped your arms. Similar.
Yeah.
Right.
Similar outcome.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, and they now are only found on mainland Australia. In the past, there were like subspecies of emus that could be found on like Kangaroo Island and King Island, which are, and like Tasmania, those are like islands around Australia. Mm-hmm. But those populations died out. But yeah, so, and then like as far as like conservation status goes, emus are listed as like the least amount of concern. Basically,
so let's shoot at them.
Basically, they're not dying anytime soon because these things, they're dinosaurs. Okay,
they're
dinosaurs that will never disappear.
They're huge. Like, I know they're smaller than ostriches, but they're not small birds.
No, they are not. I will get to it in a second. But yeah, basically their habitat range, there's like small little areas in Australia where they're not found, but overall it's the entirety of Australia is their domain.
Yeah, it's like the middle of the city, probably, hopefully.
Right, yeah.
Now that I say that, I feel...
I think there's like a mountain range where they're not found. But like, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like their ostrich cousins, emus are flightless. I didn't see this in my notes, but I have a vague recollection that they can like jump really high, but that might not be true, so don't hold me to that. Again, I was 5 when we lived in Australia, so I'm far from an expert. Okay. But yeah, so emus can reach up to 6.2 feet tall or 1.9 meters tall. So, yeah.
You said 6 point what?
2.
That's literally a foot taller than me.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can jump 7 feet straight up.
Okay, so I was right. Yeah.
That's so scary.
Right? Yeah, so, and they can reach speeds up to 31 miles per hour, which is 50 kilometers per hour.
So they can also chase you.
Which is really freaking fast.
And they will win that fight.
Yep. And they can travel for super long distances. The like 31 miles per hour is their like sprinting speed, but they migrate. They across a desert. Like they can go for really long distances. And they can even swim when necessary. They don't tend to, but if there's like a heavy rainfall, or like a river that they have to cross, they can swim, which
I did not know that.
Is just weird to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
I would never picture an emu swimming.
Right, exactly.
I'm literally watching them jump into a pond right
now. But yeah, they eat mostly plants and insects, and they forage for their food.
They're so fast.
They are. They're so fast. It's crazy. And they're known to go like for long periods of time without water. But when they do have access to water, they will drink it in copious amounts, which, I mean, it makes sense. It's kind of like camels.
Yeah, trying to stock up.
Yeah, if you're a desert animal, like, your body has like evolved over time to withstand long periods of like drought and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
oh my god, you know Kevin from Up, the bird.
Yes.
Watching this, that's exactly what it is. Also, when it sat in the water, it looked like a little swan, and then it stood up on its giant fucking legs.
Yeah, they're weird birds. They're real weird.
Oh my god, it looks like a person in a bird costume. Like,
I know.
I have to send you this video. I'm like so blown away.
Please do. I will watch it.
I was afraid of birds.
I mean, that's
don't
fair.
show her this bird.
I wasn't planning
I'm
on
not
it.
afraid of birds, but like pet birds are super weird to me because I'm like, why would I want a bird staring at me with its beady little eyes all
Yeah,
day?
that's how Allison is. Yeah, you should see her around geese. It's fucking hysterical.
Yeah. Okay, well, geese are scary,
Dude,
okay?
in
Geese will
downtown
kill
Boston
you.
today, Goose was coming at us like it was going to kill us. We were in the car, but it like locked eyes with Kevy and was like, "Bitch, you're going down." It was horrifying. It was like by itself. I was like, "Where the hell is your family? Like, get out of here."
That was something when my mom and I were walking around U of I forgot how many geese tend to congregate on college campuses.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been on one in 5 years, and then I was like, holy fuck, they're everywhere!
Yeah. That was the worst part about SIUE was all the geese, and they would they would chase you across campus.
SIUE, did they have to put a thing out that they were gonna like relocate the geese
Yes.
or something a few years
And
ago?
they did, and then they all came back the next year.
Yeah.
And they were like, sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with them. Like, they will literally, like, sit on top of the buildings and just, like, scream at you. And then, like, if you, like, lock eyes with it, it'll, like, fly down off the building and, like, chase you into the building. We had one in a building one time. It, like, came in with all the people, and we were all like, can you get rid of that? Because it's scary. Mm-hmm. Like, it's hissing.
The only bird Allie is okay with seeing is a condor, just because we've never actually seen one in person, and that's the only one. And even then, after that, she'll be like, I'm out, we're done with birds.
No, I like birds. I really like raptors and corvids, but
yeah, Allie's just not a bird person.
I just don't understand the point of them as pets, and if you have one as a pet, I'm sorry, but I am not that person.
Well, maybe they can explain.
I like when they can talk to you. That's fun.
Maybe. They smell.
Like I said, if I could have a raven, it's over.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's a whole nother story, because then I'm just like spooky witch in the woods. And that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But, no, because my grandpa had birds at one point. He had like 2 little lovebirds, and I don't know why. They would like stare me down, and I was like, why? Leave me alone. But yeah, anyway, so birds.
Okay, back to emus.
But yeah, and then this is just a little tidbit that's not important in any way. I just kind of thought it was funny. But like during mating season, female emus will let out this like booming vocalization sound. They, I guess, have like an inflatable pouch in their throat which just makes me think of a frog.
Yeah.
And it makes this like booming sound. It's like, that's what it's called, is a booming vocalization. And they use it in courtship rituals as a territorial announcement and as a threat to rivals. And a high intensity boom can be heard up to 1.2 miles or 2 kilometers away. And in my mind, I'm just like, so if I'm in the desert, just chilling in Australia, and out of nowhere, there's just this giant booming noise, and then I see this dinosaur coming at me. Like, imagine the first people in Australia, like, not the natives, but, like, you know, when they sent all the, like, criminals from England over to Australia, and they're just like, what is this?
I have to go blow my nose or I will die.
Okay, you do that.
Let's see.
Ugh. Also with birds, I'm gonna have to cut this section anyway because of all this nonsense. My mom didn't know until last summer that birds don't live in birdhouses year round. Because I don't remember how we got onto the topic, but you know, we have like birdhouses.
Your mom.
I know, she's so sweet sometimes, but then other times I'm just like, Mom. Yeah, I don't remember how we got on the topic, but it was something like, if a birdhouse isn't available, where do the birds sleep? And I was like, wait, what? And she was like, well, where do they sleep? And I was like, what do you mean? In a tree? And she was like, what about birdhouses? Like, Mom, that's for mating. They only use those for eggs. She was like, what? I was like, how do you not know this?
Wait, what did I just walk into?
My mom, I was going to cut it, but now I can't. My mom didn't know until last summer that birds don't live in birdhouses year round, or like nests. She thought they did that year round, and they only do it for mating and having babies. And I had to be the one to break that to her last summer.
I love your mother.
I know.
Birdhouses are not naturally occurring. Does she realize that?
I think she meant, like, nests. She was like, where do they sleep at night? And I was like, in a tree. What do you mean? They're birds. Yeah, she thought that they slept, like, in nests year-round. And I was like, no, Mom, those are for eggs.
The nest is just for eggs.
Yeah, that's just for
burrow.
eggs, Mom.
Some live on the ground.
Yeah. Mom. My poor mom. I make fun of her. Like, it's so easy to make fun of my mom. To be perfectly
It really
honest.
is. I love her, but
I love her
she
so
does set
much.
herself up really well.
She just provides endless entertainment.
She sets herself up.
She does.
She does.
Endless
She really
entertainment. Ugh. Hi, Mom. Sorry. She doesn't listen to this anyway, so.
I love you.
How many podcasts do you have?
Yeah. Every few weeks she'll be like, you're still doing the podcast? I was like, Mom, I call you every day. I would tell you if we're not doing the podcast.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I appreciate that you're taking an interest.
Right.
Because sometimes she'll be like, what are you talking about? And then I tell her and she's just like, oh.
I know, my parents
Oh,
ask,
that's
like,
nice.
every time I come downstairs from, like, recording, they're like,
Uh-huh.
what'd you talk about tonight? And I'm just like, oh, this thing, and they're like, interesting.
I know. Like, I told her that, like, for last week, I was like, you know that show Ancient Aliens? She was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, yeah, we talked about how racist it is. She was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I, like, told my dad yesterday, I was like, oh, we're recording tomorrow, and he was like, oh, what are you going to be talking about? And I was like, well, it's my week to do it, and so we're going to talk about the Great Emu War, and he was like, the what? And I like told him, and he looked it up, and he was like, well, you have fun with that.
Yeah, that's
I was like,
basically
I
my
will.
mom's tone. She just, like, she doesn't understand, but she's supportive, and that's what matters.
Right, that's what matters.
My mom. She's great.
But yeah,
All right,
okay,
let's keep going.
so
It's 9
the
o'clock here.
Yes.
yeah, the booming sound, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Back to just emus in general. Overall, they aren't necessarily aggressive. They're just really curious. So, like, if they encounter humans, they're not really going to attack humans in any way. They can be territorial, and they will get super defensive of, like, their fledglings or their eggs. So, in that sense, they'll get a little aggressive. But also there's not that many recorded cases of emu attacks because, I'm sorry, but if a giant dinosaur bird started booming at me, I'd run away. I'd be like, I don't care about your eggs.
I have a related point that
Yes.
I just remembered and Googled. Captive emus and ostriches can become romantically attracted to their keepers. I
Yes.
just remembered that.
Yes, they can. It's very odd.
Yes.
It is very weird. They are very weird birds.
Yes.
You are tall. I am tall. I am in love.
You guys don't watch
Basically.
Letterkenny! Oh, there's a whole thing in Letterkenny about this guy who maybe fucked an ostrich.
Oh, God. I don't...
Okay.
That
It's
doesn't make me
funnier
want to
than
watch it.
No, you really need to watch it. That show is fucking hysterical. But
Okay.
That's my dad's favorite show.
it's
Can
so
I tell you something?
funny.
Yes.
Yes.
My dad watches that show in the bathtub. He takes baths all the time. And
I barely know your
Oh.
dad, but that just
Screams
that
your
just
dad.
sounds like
Yeah.
your dad. That is
he watches that, and he watches, like, space explosion movies in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And it's his favorite thing.
Okay, well, Letterkenny is hysterical, and there's a whole thing in mostly the first season where somebody may have fucked an ostrich. It's a big whole thing, and it's hysterical, I promise. So,
Okay.
you don't
Okay,
see
I'll take your word
anything.
on
It's
it.
just like gossip
Well.
in the town, you know?
Yeah.
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 God, that show is hysterical.
But yeah, so like I said, they're not exactly aggressive at all, really, unless their nest is being threatened. I mean, as
Yeah.
anyone would be of
Yeah.
their eggs or their babies and stuff like that. They are really curious around humans. They tend to go up to them and be like, hey, what are you? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. But they are extremely tall and extremely strong. And their legs are some of the strongest in, like, the animal kingdom, and they are strong enough to tear down metal fencing. So,
Oh my god.
if they do attack, when they do attack,
You're fucked.
yeah, you're dead. It's fine. It's kind of like kangaroos are cute and cuddly, but, like, they will kill you.
Yeah.
So
Everything in Australia will kill you.
true.
Yeah.
True, or drive you insane.
Yeah.
Some of the birds are really friggin' annoying. We had like a flock of, not kookaburras, cockatoos, that lived behind our house when we lived there, and they were so friggin' loud. And like, we had to have like tassels on our hats to avoid swooping season with the magpies. Like, you have to have like tassels so they don't just like come and
get your head,
tear your face. It's a thing. Australia was fun. I enjoyed it.
Sounds like a
I was
different
also
universe.
5, so like to me it was great.
Yeah.
So
going back as an adult might.
I mean, I
We'll
still think
see.
it's cool.
Oh,
I would love to go back. Yeah, from a 5-year-old standpoint, Australia was fantastic. Not when the redback got into our bathroom and built its web across our entire bathroom. And in
I don't like that.
my 5-year-old brain, it was like the size of like my fist currently, and my mother says it was not. She said it was like a small spider, and I'm like, I
Either
don't
way.
believe you, because
Yeah.
that thing was massive. So anyway, everything in Australia will kill you. But yeah, so kind of just like with that general description of them, you can kind of see why they would cause problems for these farmers, especially when there's 20,000 of them. Which, I mean, it's across like a whole region, but still,
Yeah.
that's a lot of freaking birds.
Yeah.
A lot of really big
I was
birds.
gonna say that's a lot of small birds. Like.
Right. Like, that's a lot of birds. Like, have you seen the movie The Birds? That's a lot. I wouldn't want it.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially because like they usually forage for like plants and bugs. So like they're getting into your fields, they're tearing through your fences, like destroying your crops. And I mean, that is essentially what they did. They would tear through the fences, which caused costly repairs, and it allowed other animals, specifically rabbits, to get into the fields and destroy crops. The emus themselves would sit there and eat the crops, and they ended up like spoiling large portions of fields, or just straight up destroying them and making them unusable, or like the crop was gone essentially. So I mean, it caused a really big problem for all these farmers, especially since they weren't really farmers to begin with. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so these farmers sent word to the Australian government about their concerns over the emus, and then they sent a group of themselves, kind of like a little, what's the word I'm looking for?
Coalition.
Yeah,
Hey,
a
there
little
we go.
coalition of themselves to go meet with the Minister of Defense, whose name was George Pierce. So these farmers, they were farmer soldiers, so they were just throwing out ideas to this Minister of Defense, and they were like, hey, so what about machine guns? Like, those are really effective.
I have a quick
I
question.
think that would work. Yes.
Why did they go to the... I may have missed it. Why did they go to defense and not, like, agriculture?
You know, nothing told me that.
Okay.
I
Because
think
they're
because they were
soldiers, Shannon.
soldiers, and that
Okay.
was kind of like, in their mind, that was like their first person to go to.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just curious if we
but
knew the answer to that
nothing-
question.
Yeah, nothing like distinctly said why. I know that at this time, and I didn't look too deeply into this because it wasn't super relevant, but at this time there was like talks of secession, I think, between like Western Australia and Eastern. And there was just like politically there was a bunch of turmoil going
Yeah.
on. But again, I didn't really do a whole lot of
Yeah, that's
research
not-
into that
that's not
because
relevant.
it wasn't super relevant,
Yeah.
and I honestly just don't care
Yeah.
about politics.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. In 1932 Australia.
Yeah.
It's a really niche subject.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I can't say for certain.
Okay. I just didn't know.
And it could have been that they did go to like a Department of Agriculture or something and kind of just got like
pushed around. until
shoved
they ended up-
along,
Yeah.
and they were just like, okay, well, this dude will listen to us.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I just
Sort
didn't
of
know
thing.
if I had missed it or
Yeah,
there was
no.
an answer. That's my that was my first thought, was why the fuck did they go to the defense guy?
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, weird, but okay. I have noticed that I am one of those people who just, like, I just don't question things that much. And I don't, like, that's probably not the best trait to have, but...
And I am suspicious of everyone all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just one of those people where I'm like, seems legit, sounds good. Okay, moving on. Like, I'm just like, sure, that's what they did. Okay. And I just, like, don't question it.
Yeah, I know. I think it's law school, guys. I question everything
Shannon,
the
you were
time.
like this long before law school.
I was, but it got worse.
Yeah, and I think, because I'm very much a, like, and this is only somewhat related, but it's the only way I can think of to describe it right now, is that, like, I'm very much like a math-brained person where, like, everyone in math class always wanted to know, why do we need to know this? What are we going to use this for? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't care. Give me a formula. I will punch in numbers all day. And I don't question it. Like, if you tell me that's the formula and that's going to be the right answer, then that's fine. And that's all I need to know. I don't need to know the whys or the hows of anything. And it's always kind of been that way for me. And so I don't know what that says about me as a person. I don't really know what that means. But yeah, that's just how I am. And so sometimes you ask questions and I'm like, I probably should have looked that up, but I didn't, because I didn't care.
That's okay.
Because, like, it, like, doesn't even process in my brain. I have a passing thought of, like, hey, that's weird, and then I just move on.
Yeah.
So.
Whereas with me, I will spend 20 minutes trying to find an answer to that very niche question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, that's what they told me, so that must be what happened. Now, if something comes up and it's, like, super questionable, then I'll dig into it. But with things like this, I'm just like, oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So, anyway, that's just me as a person.
Different brains. People are...
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah,
so,
it's all good.
I mean, it works either way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so they went to this dude and they were like, how about some machine guns to, fight these birds?
Yes.
How about that? That sounds like a good plan. And George Pierce, the Minister of Defense, agreed. He was like, sure, sounds like a good idea. He did have a few conditions, though. But yeah, his conditions are, I guess, like, the Department of Defense, or whatever they call it there. Mm-hmm. The conditions were that the guns had to be operated by current military personnel. The transportation of the troops had to be financed by the Western Australian government. The farmers would house and feed the troops, and the farmers would also provide the payment for the ammunition.
We have amendments against that. Sorry, that was the first thing I thought.
Yeah,
we have an amendment that prohibits forced military occupation in private homes.
We do. Look, I don't know
that. I just law school brain. That's just the first thing I go to.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, to be fair, and we'll get to this, there was only 3 people on this mission.
All right.
So it wasn't exactly difficult to house them. Just be like, there's a barn, go sleep in it.
They only said 3 people against 20,000.
Look, we'll get there. We'll get there in like 2 seconds.
Okay. I really thought there were a lot more people.
I know, I did too. I did too.
Yeah.
Oh
yep.
My God.
But yeah, so Pierce essentially approved of the mission on the grounds that it would provide good target practice, and that it would give the government a way to basically be like, see, we helped you in your time of need, in order to, like, stave off talks of secession.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, like I said, I didn't go too much into, like, or at all into the, like, politics that was going on at this time in Australia. But yeah, there were talks of secession going on. Western Australia itself, I mean, again, they kind of had, like, their own little government of their own. So it was very much a political move to help these farmers out, as opposed to, like, we're gonna help you because we want to help you. and because we screwed you over with this land. It was more of a, we're looking good. Like, they literally sent in a news reporter with these, with the people that they sent in to kind of, like, so that they could film them helping the farmers, sort of thing. So, yes. So the military involvement was set to begin in October of 1932. It was delayed, however, until November because there was a heavy rainfall in the area. And the troops were under the command of Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery. And I say troops, but like I mentioned like 2 seconds ago, it was just this dude and 2 other guys. So it was...
And his friends.
Right. So it was Major Meredith and then Sergeant McMurray and Gunner O'Halloran.
Okay.
So it was just these 3 men. They were armed with 2 Lewis guns, which is just an automatic machine gun rifle, essentially. And they had 10,000 rounds of ammo, and basically they were just traveling in like a basic pickup truck.
Okay.
So...
This sounds way more American than it should.
I know. This does sound very American.
I know.
2 guys with big guns in a truck.
Yeah.
Right?
Going to kill some birds.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first attempt that was made to get rid of these birds, and I say first attempt, it was like a week-long thing, but yeah, anyway. So on November 2nd, that is when they first set out, and these 3 men, they traveled to Campion, I believe is how you say it, but honestly, probably not, because it's Australian. I don't know how they pronounce things.
Everything is wrong. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that we say is wrong. I don't mean like...
Oh, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
y'all aren't wrong. You know how to
We are
pronounce your own
incorrect.
things. So I am wrong. Okay. But yeah, when they got there, they spotted about approximately 50 emus. The birds were out of range of their guns, though. I guess like where they had set up their little, I don't know, shooting range, I guess. So the birds were out of range, and so the farmers like tried to herd them closer to these 3 guys, and that did not work. The birds split off into smaller groups and basically scattered. So these soldiers, or troops, or whatever you want to call them, Major Meredith and his pals, like open fired on these birds, and they managed to kill a few of them, but really not that many. Yeah, it wasn't really successful. That's really all I've got to say about that. Yeah, and then on... Oh, wait, no. Part of the reason they didn't actually end up being able to kill that many is because emus are kind of stupid and don't realize they've been shot. And so it essentially took 10 rounds to kill a single bird. It just did, because they like don't realize they've been shot. Also, they've got a lot of like extra skin, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're fucking dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They
Sorry.
are. They really are. But yeah, so the machine guns weren't really all that effective. But yeah, so then on November 4th, so 2 days later, the troops set up an ambush near a local dam, and more than 1,000 emus showed up, or like were in the area. And so again, they open fired into the flock, and they managed to kill 12 of the birds, and then the gun jammed.
Great.
And the rest of the flock scattered and got away. So 12 out of more than 1,000 birds. So
Great.
they're just doing real great here. But yeah, so after this failed attempt, the troops then moved southward where they had heard that the birds were quote unquote fairly tame. um, I guess they just assumed that that meant the birds wouldn't run when they're being shot at, but okay. But yeah, so obviously that was not successful. The birds still got away. Again, like everywhere they stopped, they managed to kill a few, but honestly not many, not enough to really be worth it. But yeah, and then this is a quote that I like word for word took it from Wikipedia, but they had it in quotes. But it just makes me laugh because after a few days, these three men noted that each pack seems to have its own leader now, a big black plumed bird which stands fully 6 feet high and keeps watch while his mates carry out their work of destruction and warns them of our approach. I'm like, are you guys going a little crazy? You think these birds are plotting against you? Like,
they had sentries posted.
And, the birds are out here, like, what did it say? While their mates carry out their work of destruction, like, they're keeping watch while these birds, like, purposely destroy these fields, and then, like, they see these guys, and they're like, get away, car, come now. Like, okay.
It's the kid from John Mulaney with the
Scatter!
bottle who goes, scatter!
Scatter! Oh my gosh, I love it. But yeah, the first time I read that, I literally laughed out loud, and I was like, okay, sure, the birds are plotting against you. Speaking of, have you guys heard that thing where it's like birds aren't real?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That internet
I don't know.
thing. Yeah.
I had an old coworker or friend, actually Brandy, who listens to this, told me about it, and now I like randomly get Facebook ads for it, and I'm just like, what is this? Why? Why though? And when me and my dad drove through Tennessee a couple months back to go to Georgia, we stopped at this like overlook in the mountains of Tennessee, and on one of the posts, someone had put a sticker that it just said birds aren't real. And I was like, okay.
Well, I sent
Cool.
you guys that picture of my favorite sign or bumper sticker or whatever that's on a sign. Okay, it's on
What?
the back of a sign that is next to the graveyard that is in the joint KFC Taco Bell parking lot.
Oh, I've been to that one. Well, we went by it anyway.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
the
yeah.
graveyard
I know
that
you've
is
sent
in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I know you've sent a picture of it, but I don't remember what it said.
Literally in a parking lot.
I am not exaggerating.
No, we are not
In the parking lot.
exaggerating.
There's a sticker that it has like a Gandalf looking wizard man, and on it says Crystal Methodist.
I love that.
And I don't know what it means. I'm gonna look it up. I'm just so confused about it. I think about it every damn day.
All right. Anyway, moving on. That quote just makes me laugh because they like legitimately were like, these birds are plotting against us.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you never know.
Maybe they
might have
were.
been. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what goes on in an
know.
emu's brain. But yeah, so Major Meredith, I don't know why his name is fun to say. Major Meredith. Sounds like a comic book character.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he even tried mounting one of the machine guns onto the top of the truck and like driving along by these flocks of emus and having someone open fire into the flock. That did not work out because the birds were faster than the truck. And the ride was so rough because it's through like fields and desert, like it's not paved roads, that the guy who was like manning the gun wasn't able to like actually fire any shots because it was so bumpy and stuff.
Oh my
So,
god.
My God.
it's like a disaster all the way around. But yeah, so after a whole week of them like attempting to cull these flocks of birds, they had fired over 2,500 rounds, and in his official report, Major Meredith reported that the farmers estimated around 200 birds had been killed. And again, it just cracks me up that he put this in his report, that his men had suffered no casualties.
Oh, thank God.
I was like, there's 3 of you, but okay. And while that was what he put in his report, most estimates think that they really only killed around 50 birds. So
out of 20,000.
Yep.
And they were there for a week.
After a week and 2,500 rounds of ammo.
Oh my God.
Holy shit. How much is that per bird?
Well, if it's 50, a lot. If it's the 200, it's about 10 per bird. A little over.
That was good math.
And then I can do that much. And then on November 8th, George Pierce, the Minister of Defense dude, he withdrew those 3 guys after the operation had received negative press coverage in the local media. Because basically the media was like, why are these dudes here? They're just firing a machine gun into a flock of birds and it's doing nothing. Like, they're not doing anything. And so, yeah, Pierce, withdrew them. Also, the, overall government had, I think they said it was, their version of the House had been, deliberated over it, and they were like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
And stop.
Oh, man.
Stop your nonsense. But yeah, so now we're getting into the second attempt to get rid of these birds. So Pierce withdrew those 3 guys. Obviously, the emus continued to wreak havoc on the farmers and their crops. So once again, they went back to the government and were like, hey, still didn't really help us out.
Mm-hmm.
Can you fix this? So James Mitchell was the premier of Western Australia. So basically, I guess, the head of the Western Australian government. And he lent his, personal support to the renewal of the military assistance. Basically, because, the overall Australian government was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do this anymore. It's getting bad press. We look bad, blah, blah, blah. And this guy was like, no, let's help these guys out. I support it, send troops in, blah, blah, blah. And so on November 12th, Pierce renewed the military involvement and sent those 3 guys back out into the field. So on November 13th, Major Meredith and his pals went back out, and this go around they actually were relatively successful, I guess. Compared to last time, anything is better than that, I guess. So with this go around, they stayed out there for about 2 months, essentially, and they averaged about 100 kills per week.
Dang.
And then, so by December 10th is kind of when it all ended. Meredith reported 986 kills with 9,860 rounds of ammo. So again, 10 per bird.
That's so many bullets.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess you can judge for yourselves whether that counts as successful or not. It's less than 1,000 birds out of 20,000.
So much effort for essentially nothing.
Yeah, essentially. And, I mean, I guess, and that's where my notes end, essentially. And, I mean, there's, from what I read, essentially, the fields were kind of saved for that year. They were able to still get a decent crop out of them for that year, but in following years they had to ask for assistance multiple times, and the government wouldn't give it to them because they considered this not a success.
Yeah.
So, and it was for the same problem. Like, I mean, obviously every year the emus are going to migrate every year. So, but yeah, so, I mean, yes, that year they were able to still get a decent crop, but I'm not sure I would call that successful.
Yeah.
Regardless, because I don't know, it just doesn't seem worth that effort to me. And yeah, but yeah, so that's all I have on that. And then the thing where like the guy just took it way too seriously, I like didn't write notes on it because it just made me laugh. But it's the wearethemighty.com. And
I was looking at that website. Is it sketchy or am I crazy?
No, it's sketchy. Which is why I didn't get any of my official information from it, because this guy didn't cite anything. It's basically his like opinion piece.
And it's from a military website. Am I supposed to be on a military website? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying it's really sketchy.
Yeah, that's why I was confused.
Yeah, it's really weird. But yeah, it's this guy's essentially opinion piece. And it's from like April 29th of 2020, so arguably not that long ago. Like,
yeah.
Why are you taking this so personally? But the whole thing, the title of it is Why the Emu War Wasn't as Silly as Folks Make It Out to Be. And then, like, just the way that it's written,
Found it.
is very much like it's always brought up as a fun fact, blah, 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 and whatever. And when it's put like that, it's funny and makes a great fun fact that can be brought up whenever Australia's military might is in question. But the thing is, Australia's military kicks ass.
Oh.
And I'm just like, okay,
dude, calm down.
And he's like, saying Australia lost a war against a bunch of flightless birds, while sort of true, doesn't really do what actually happened justice.
I found the article. He's like really defending the government for losing to emus.
Right. He's like defending the Australian military, defending the government for it, and I'm just like, but like that was like none of these people are alive anymore.
Yeah.
Calm down.
They're really defending these people.
And the current Australian military might be great, and from what my 5-year-old brain can remember, they were cool.
Yeah.
But like, calm down. It's just the way it's written. I was like,
yeah, he's taking this away. I'm wondering, is he descended from
and
someone?
He doesn't,
or
right? Like, that was my thought.
He's taking it so personally that people
like,
think
he
this
takes
is
it so
funny.
Personally that like
this is objectively absurd. Like,
right?
This is
like,
a ridiculous situation.
But it's funny, and he's like, if anyone can be blamed, it's George Pierce, and it's like, well, duh.
Yeah, no one's arguing that.
But it's still a ridiculous thing that it happened anyway. Like,
he also seems annoyed that people think it was like the whole military when it was only 3 people. Like, yeah, that's ridiculous that they would send 3 people against 20,000 fucking giant birds.
Right, like, the whole situation is ridiculous, and, like, you're kind of arguing against your point, being like, oh, the military is great, but the military sent just 3 people. Like, yeah.
The media...
Isn't that the point of why it's funny? Like...
The media laughed at them for the absurdity of it all and dubbed it the Great Emu War to make light of the situation. It gave... Well, I found a typo. He put it give. It gave readers a moment of levity during the otherwise grim depression. While the general population thought it was silly to send any troops. Yeah, no shit. It's ridiculous to send troops after birds.
Right, like...
They're birds!
I don't know. I just, like... I was reading it and was like, why does he sound so defensive?
He's so defensive!
And it just kept going, and I was like, but you're not citing any of your information.
That too.
Like, a lot of it is the same information that I just gave you, but, like, at the same time, I'm like, you can't sit here and be like,
hang on,
I'm offended. Like, okay,
I just pulled up him, Like,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You okay?
My cat just did some parkour that scared me.
Oh. He is a U.S. Army veteran, shockingly enough. He then pursued a career in the film and television world, and he's the resident nerd. Oh, God.
Somehow don't think any of that went well.
Yeah.
Not making fun of him for being in the military
No,
or anything.
no.
It's just funny that he's like so uptight
Oh, yeah,
about...
no, not at all. Like,
Yeah.
me and Hannah are both
It's
military
like funny in the way
brats.
that
Like,
I'm really
I've got...
uptight about Ohio.
Yeah.
Right.
One of his other articles, which was posted yesterday, is that time the Army let loose a plague of feral camels in the Wild West. So that's okay? Okay.
Anyway, that's all I have for you guys.
Okay.
Love it.
Yeah. This was fun. This was a good...
Birds. Jeez,
Yeah.
birds.
Yeah.
I hadn't done one of my ridiculous topics in a while, so
Yeah.
I figured it was time.
Yeah.
Love it.
We need these.
Plus, we need some
Levity.
lighthearted
Yeah.
levity
Yeah.
in the world these days.
Ugh.
At the expense of some ridiculous people in the Australian military
Yeah.
100 years ago.
Ugh.
Sorry to their descendants, but it's hilarious.
I mean, their descendants
sure-
also probably
honestly,
think
from-
it's hilarious.
From what I know, from the few Australian people that I know, if that was their like ancestors, that would be brought up at like every story
Yeah.
possible.
I
I'd
would
be
bring
like,
that up.
so that was my grandpa at the Great Emu War.
Yeah, I would
Like,
bring
I
that
would
up
do it.
constantly.
I would never not talk about
No.
it. Like,
I talk about my
Every-
witch grandma 24/7.
Yeah.
and,
like literally, like
it's not even a
every
happy
college icebreaker, I would have been like, so my grandpa was in the Great Emu War. Like,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So,
Ugh.
dresses up as an emu every Halloween.
right.
You both say emu. I don't say that.
Yeah, we said that at the
Interesting.
beginning.
Oh, I didn't notice that you said it, Hannah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just noticed. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if it, again, with that, I don't know if it's a me thing or,
Well, clearly not,
I've
since
always said
Hannah also
emu.
does it.
yeah. Because, like, both my parents still say emu, so I don't know.
But like, where's the double O that I don't know. I'm not gonna get into
Yeah,
language. I'm done.
Where's
yeah,
the
again,
Not that bitch.
yeah, again, I don't know what the correct way is. I probably could have looked it up. It doesn't matter, though. So,
I just did.
that's all I...
Emu is the American way. Emu is the non-American way.
Okay,
yeah.
so we're both right.
Yeah. we're both
But
right.
also, emus are not an American animal, so
Yeah.
Americans are wrong.
It's fine.
Anyway.
I didn't even know that was a debate. I just assumed it was emu because that's the
Well,
only thing
and
I've
yeah,
ever
it's one of
heard.
those things that, like, no one, and that's why I didn't even really know, because I, like, have said it that way.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, like, I thought it was because I had learned it in Australia, and that's how they said it there, but then, again, I was 5 when we lived there,
Yeah.
so having heard it emu for the whole rest of my life, I'm like, well, maybe I'm just wrong.
Nope. No one's wrong.
Yeah. That's always a good answer.
Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah.
well.
Any closing thoughts?
No, just this was very entertaining. And as always with yours, you were worried we weren't going to have enough. And that was a
Always.
misguided
I'm
fear.
always worried
Yeah.
that
I
we will
always
not
have
enough.
some opinion on
Yeah.
something. Don't you worry.
Right.
We all do.
And I just know how to drag out a topic. I'm really good at that. But yeah, so our ending is that we have no ending.
Bye-bye.
And that's it. Bye, friends.
Bye. Fuck Boston. Thanks for listening to The Triad. Our music is by Scott Buckley. Our audio is recorded by our sound engineers, Craig Bott and Audrey Credo.
If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and Tumblr as The Triad Podcast.
We're also on Patreon as The Triad. Currently, all Patreon funds will go towards the cost of hosting the show. Each tier has its own rewards, but every patron receives our undying gratitude. Do you have comments, questions, or stories? Email us at thetriadpod@gmail.com. And thank you again for listening to The Triad, where we're spooky but sensitive.